Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Cars.com. In Gainesville, Florida State likely 2 wins away from a spot in the BCS National Championship game, leading 17-0. Dave Pasch with Brian Greasy and partner for a while. If you're a Seminole fan, you got a little nervous. It was 3-0, third down and 26. The Gators were getting after Jameis Winston, hitting him, sacking him, and then he makes a great play.
Well, he makes a great play, and Kenny Shaw makes a great catch. He gets a big hit from Cody Riggs, and it's interesting. This is the one of the few plays in the first half where Florida didn't play man-to-man coverage. They played a 2-deep look, and Jameis reads it and then fires that ball in. And this is really, before that play, they only had 55 yards of offense, but that play kind of opened the floodgates. They bring pressure again here. This is the touchdown to Kelvin Benjamin, ISO'd on Brian Poole, the backup defensive back, and he makes a couple guys miss, and that really changed the complexion of the first half.
At that point, Winston had around 44 yards passing. He has 208 now and 2 touchdowns as he continues to improve on his Heisman campaign. 34 touchdown passes. A single-season school record, breaking Chris Winke's mark set in his Heisman season of 2000. And Florida State will get the ball to start the second half. Florida, trying to end the season on a positive note, will not be in a bowl game for the first time in 23 seasons. Kermit Whitfield on the return for Florida State and tackled at the 20-yard line. Time now for a Discover Game Changer, brought to you by Discover Cars.
And a big surprise here. Number 5 from Florida State. They have lived on his arm all year. They supplement with the running attack and Devontae Freeman. But make no mistake, Florida State's offense has been the passing game with Jameis Winston. And I was impressed in the first half, taking these hits, being challenged in the secondary with these cover corners for Florida. Jameis Winston did not flinch. He continued to throw that football.
One of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football, 70% completion rate. Hasn't been in a lot of second halves this year. Starts the second half here. They've been blowing teams out. Freeman gets about 3. Let's get Tom Luganbill on here from things from the Florida side.
Well, for the Florida Gators, very disappointing. Trey Burton is out for the rest of this game with a left shoulder injury, and more importantly, they were expecting him to carry the football or have a package that would include him in at least 35 plays. That no longer an option. And talking to Will Muschamp, so goes their season. A 50-yard run, boom, out for the game, and then you start over again on the drawing board.
Yeah, they missed a 49-yard field goal on that drive, and now 15 players for Florida and 10 starters out for the season with injuries. Winston not on the same page that time with O'Leary, so it'll bring up a 3rd down and 6.
And the other thing that Tom was talking with Coach Muschamp about was, listen, his defense, all they know how to do, all they can do in this second half is continue to fire their gun, continue to bring pressure, continue to play tight man-to-man coverage, and try to make Jameis Winston make those throws. Expect more of the same in the second half from Florida's defense.
Florida State has been so good, though, on 3rd down all season, and 5 of 7 today on 3rd down. Winston with time, knocked away, incomplete. Brian Poole running with Kenny Shaw, and it's a 3-and-out.
I'll give Poole credit. He was beaten the first half by Benjamin. Makes a great play in perfect position to make that play on Kenny Shaw. The difference between this play and the touchdown he gave to Kelvin Benjamin, there were 2 safeties back there, and so Poole knows he had help over the top, and he could play underneath Shaw and knock that ball down. That's the difference, quite frankly, between how defenses play Jameis Winston and how they play other mobile quarterbacks. They're not as concerned about him running.
Roberson waiting at the 35-yard line. And there's no running room. Good punt coverage by Florida State, but decent field position for the Gators to start the second half. Here are our first half stats brought to you by iRobot. Florida with 2 sacks on Jameis Winston, but they could not convert a 3rd down. They had 50 of their 104 yards coming in that one play we talked about. And they've scored more than 17 points in a half just once this entire season. So you wonder, with a backup quarterback, really the 3rd-string quarterback, that they have enough firepower to actually get back in the game.
Well, they started the second half how they wanted to, get a 3-and-out on defense, and now you got great field position at the 40-yard line for your offense.
Third start for Skylar Morningwig. And he's going to get drilled, and the ball is out. And they have not made a signal yet. It's picked up by Telvin Smith, and it's going to be Florida State ball. Everybody stopped, but the official never blew the play dead. So it's ruled a fumble on the field, forced by Mario Edwards and recovered by Telvin Smith.
Rolling on the field is a fumble recovered by Florida State. First down.
Well, Mario Edwards, playing the right defensive end position, goes right around the left tackle. That's Max Garcia. Here he is. And the question is, when he hits Morningweg, is his arm coming forward? Does not look like it. That's pretty cut and dry, but that is a fumble. His arm is not. It's still going backwards. That will be a fumble recovered by Florida State.
So it'll be under further review, but has to be indisputable video evidence to overturn the ruling on the field, which is a fumble. And it appeared, as you said, Brian, that the ball is out before the hand motion starts forward. How about that? Just as you said, you get a 3 and out, you get good starting field position, and then you let a guy come running free and cream your quarterback.
Yeah, that's
on the first play.
You know, Max Garcia started the year as a guard, and they wanted him to be a guard. They had to move him to tackle because DJ Humphries goes down and Tyler Moore goes down, and so they have to find somebody to play that left tackle position. So you got now, this is how injuries affect your team. And people say, oh, you shouldn't have to, don't use injuries as an excuse. But what you have is a player playing out of position that gives up a big play in a game, and this is how it hurts you.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. First down, Florida State.
Florida State has lived off of turnovers this year. They lead the nation in interceptions. They get a fumble recovery here. Ruling on the field is confirmed, and it's Florida State ball at the 39-yard line. Here's Devontae Freeman trying to pick a hole. Gain of a couple before Neron Ball makes the stop. And you were talking about the injuries, and as you said in the first half, Will Muschamp not making excuses, but it's a big reason why this team's 4-7. And we had Jeremy Foley on the phone with us, the athletic director here, and he said no matter what happens, Will Muschamp is our head coach. He'll be our head coach next year. He said he just has a feeling about Muschamp that he is still the guy to lead this program back to being a national title contender, as Benjamin makes another beautiful grab. What a dart thrown by Winston. First down.
This is a big-time arm right here. And again, they go back to the well with Benjamin on Poole. This ball is thrown perfectly. Can't walk it out there any better to Benjamin. Good coverage by Poole, but this is just too good throwing a catch to defend.
I mean, how many throws have we seen with the defender all over the receiver, yet it's in the perfect spot by Winston. Back to the ground. Freeman got a center, Brian Stork, out there trying to block for him, and knocked out of bounds inside the 25-yard line by Jared Davis. And Winston thought there should have been a penalty on Florida, but no flag thrown.
One of the things that we've seen in this game, we haven't seen a whole lot this year against FSU, is a team that's talking, chatting up, talking to Jameis Winston, talking to this offensive line. These Florida defenders have not backed down from Florida State, and first time we've seen Jameis Winston give it back a little bit.
Problem is they got some pressure on him in the first half, but with all their injuries, they don't have the depth to substitute and rotate and keep those defensive linemen fresh. The same guy is playing just about every snap. And now Winston with time, another throw put perfectly into the arms of Nick O'Leary, short of the first down. And really a must stop here for Florida on third down.
This down and distance, 3rd and 2, where you bring in Devontae Freeman and the running game. You don't have to throw the ball in this situation. And Florida State will bring in Newberry, their backup tight end, O'Leary, and their fullback, Abram.
They're down and 2. And Stork gets bowled over by Darius Cummings. There was movement by Florida State.
Before the snap, false start. On the offense, number 52, 5-yard penalty, third down.
That's why Stork got bowled over. imitated the snap, and that drew a penalty. Now it's 3rd down and 7. Here comes pressure. Winston's pass deflected and incomplete. Dante Fowler was dropping into coverage. Pass broken up. It's 4th down. Jared Davis was in the area as well. Let's see who deflected the pass.
Yeah, it was Jared Davis. A great adjustment from Will Muschamp. You bring the pressure. Florida State has thrown that inside slant almost exclusively against pressure. They scored the touchdown with Benjamin. So what does Will Muschamp do? He drops Jared Davis right in the slant area, and they get a deflection.
Roberto Aguayo made a 49-yarder in the first half. He's missed 1 field goal all year. He's 16 of 17. And he buries another one. This kid's unbelievable, this freshman. He's made all 80 of his extra points. He's 17 of 18 on field goal kicks. He made his first 70 before a miss this year. That's a school record. Get your NFL Sunday started at 10 a.m. on ESPN with Sunday NFL Countdown. Chris Berman and the gang providing all the latest news and updates from stadiums around the league, and a special feature on Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson and his bond with a little girl he met on a recent visit to a Seattle Children's Hospital. ESPN 2 Sunday at 11 a.m. It's Fantasy Football Now. Florida State on top of Florida, 20-0 early 3rd quarter. The Gators able to get a stop and force a field goal try. They've gotten stops today, but can they get something started on offense? Might it take a big kickoff return here? Here's Solomon Patton. And Patton across the 30-yard line, out near the 40, so a good return. Here's Reese.
Guys, it is starting to look a little bit like it might be the Duke Blue Devils at Florida State seizing the ACC championship game. Now, still a ton of time to go, and you know Duke plays shootouts, but Anthony Boone to Jamison Crowder, and Duke has stretched it out to a 2-possession game now, 24-15.
And, of course, Florida State will be in the ACC championship game next week. And if it wins that game and wins today, all likelihood it will be in the BCS National Championship game. Look at the numbers for Morningwig. A lot of short passing. They'll run it here. And Kelvin Taylor stood up at the 42-yard line and pushed back by Telvin Smith, Florida State's leading tackler.
I don't think that Florida is going to be able to just line up, turn around, and hand the ball to Kelvin White and blow this Florida State defense off the ball. I think it's they've got to get Taylor involved in creative ways, whether they snap the ball directly to him, flex him out in the formation, throw the quick screen, get Patton the football, and Valdez Showers. That's the only way they're going to be able to move the ball.
And as Tom reported, with Trey Bird now, that changes things. They had plans for him in the Wildcat. It's a bad snap, and down goes Morningwig as Christian Jones gets to him, takes him down at the 36, a 6-yard loss. So 3rd down and long for Florida.
Well, and you come out in this game in the first half and you play with energy and emotion on the defensive side. And on the offensive side, what I really wanted to see, Dave, I wanted to see the seniors for Florida up front. Jonathan Harrison, John Halapio, and Trey Burton. Those are the seniors that they have on the offensive side. I wanted to see them come out and play with passion. And we've seen now twice Jonathan Harrison has snapped the ball high. Halapio's been blown off the ball, and Trey Burton is hurt off the sideline. That's why they haven't been able to get anything started on offense.
Now you got to protect to give Morningwig a chance for another high snap. And a short throw to Ahmad Fullwood, but he's not going to get the first down with that. He gets to the 45-yard line. P.J. Williams on the stop. And Florida will send in the punting team. Now, Johnny Townsend had a huge punt in the first half that pinned Florida State at the 4, and it looked like they were going to flip the field, get field position, and the ball back with about 4 minutes left. But Jameis Winston converted on a 3rd down and 26 with a pass to Kenny Shaw. The Noles scored, then tacked on another touchdown, and here we are at 17-0. And Florida State will start its next drive on its 16 midway through the 3rd quarter, leading 20-0.
Winston has had this year, the one that sticks out to me is his accuracy, and he's done it today against man coverage. He's thrown the ball right where it needs to be placed, this time to Kelvin Benjamin on an inside slant. Against man, against zone, he's also been very accurate. Stayed in the pocket. Take a look at this route by Nick O'Leary. There's 2 zone defenders on the outside. You can't throw him into the defender on the outside. He throws it perfectly on the inside, so O'Leary can turn upfield and get those extra yards. Those are the things that are overlooked, in my opinion, about what Jameis Winston has been able to do this year, throwing the ball accurately downfield.
Have you seen a freshman? I know we saw Johnny Manziel last year obviously win the Heisman Trophy, but have you seen a guy with this much arm talent and accuracy and poise to come into college football in a while?
Well, the total package, no. I haven't seen that total package, and it's been impressive.
Going for Kenny Shaw, and well covered, incomplete. Purifoy was down there for Florida.
And I think this is the total package here. We know about the leadership and confidence that he's displayed, right? Check that off. The Clemson game was a big part of that. He's trusted the pockets, had great protection up front, but he stood in there and made the throws. He's patient against zone coverages, aggressive against man coverages to make plays. And then the last part we just talked about, accuracy. Those are the 4 things that really have been impressive about Jameis Winston, in my opinion, and a big reason why he's been the most outstanding player in college football this year.
Leads the nation in pass efficiency and is on pace to break Russell Wilson's single-season record for pass efficiency. Here's Freeman off the right side. Gets upended at the 20-yard line. Gain of 4. Brian Poole made the tackle, so 3rd down coming up for Florida State. Right now 5 of 9, 0 for 2 in the second half on 3rd down.
And I think if you were going to put one more thing on that graphic that we found out today is how we deal with adversity, right? You get punched in the mouth from an aggressive, really good, the best defense he's faced so far this year, backed up in situations, and you respond with your offensive teammates in a way that's been impressive.
We asked Jimbo Fisher yesterday how Winston has handled the cloud of the ongoing investigation, and he said, you know, he didn't say anything. He just goes out there and practices and plays, and now here he runs across the 30 and slides to the 33-yard line. So another 3rd down, medium to long, and Florida State picks it up.
No, Grease, I would agree with you 100%. Accuracy is the fundamental essence of the position. But when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks, especially young ones coming out of high school, the competitive temperament, the mental character and the makeup, the mental toughness, all of the things that maybe don't manifest themselves on tape or you can't necessarily see in a camp or combine setting. Oftentimes you may not know about all of those traits that are so critical to success until you get the guy in your program. With Jameis Winston, Jimbo Fisher and staff knew they had the entire package from where to go.
Yet he didn't win the starting job until training camp. He sat and redshirted last year with E.J. Manuel as the quarterback. Winston with a ton of time, gonna let it fly, and Benjamin is there, and he pulls it in inside the 15-yard line. Another perfect throw from Jameis Winston.
You talk about the total package. He moves from one read, wants to throw it to O'Leary, and then peeks outside, and at the last second to be able to fling it out there 65 yards in the air. And Kelvin Benjamin, you give him that much space, and he's just got such a long stride, and the ball is perfectly thrown.
A 56-yard pass. Benjamin with 178 receiving yards. Here's Freeman inside the 5. Touchdown, Florida State. And the route is on in Gainesville. That's the 12th rushing touchdown for Devontae Freeman this season. Another quick drive, 84 yards in a minute 43, just 5 plays. Aguayo NCAA record for made extra points in a season is 94. And that one just sneaks through the right upright, but he's now 83 of 83 on the year, and it's 27-0 Florida State.
Florida State has done nothing but answer questions this year. The question now everybody wants to ask is how will they match up against a really good defense? And you've seen they can continue to be explosive.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Cadillac and the new Windows. Tweet your Saturday Superfan photos to College Game Day for a chance to win a trip to a bowl game.
Shots of the 1998 matchup between Florida and Florida State. The Seminoles won it 23-12. They lead the 2013 edition 27-0. Florida went into Tallahassee and beat the Seminoles last year. Florida State and Florida both played in a BCS game last year. Seminoles hoping to play the BCS National Championship, while Florida will be out of a bowl game for the first time since 1990. Here's Hargraves on the return for Florida, and he will not make it to the 20. Well, Mark Schleybaugh has been covering the ongoing investigation into a sexual assault complaint that involves Jameis Winston. Let's get the latest from Mark down on the field.
Yeah, guys, the case sits in the hands of Willie Meggs, the state attorney for the 2nd Judicial Circuit over in Tallahassee. He told me earlier this week that it could be this week or next week before his office decides whether it has sufficient evidence to charge Jameis Winston with a crime. The date keeps getting pushed back in terms of a resolution. Meggs told me the biggest thing right now is his office has a heavy caseload. One of his top assistants is actually set to try a capital murder case this coming week. Tim Jansen, Jameis Winston's attorney, met with Meggs a couple of days ago, tried to see if there was anything they could do to expedite the case. But at this point, it's just up to Meggs to come to a conclusion with this case.
All right, Mark Fullwood with a catch, might have lost a yard there. And again, no charges filed. Obviously, the status is unchanged for Jameis Winston. And really, the question now is, from a football standpoint, if you have a Heisman vote, it's likely, based on what Mark just told you, that we're not going to know anything new before December 9th at 5 Eastern when Heisman votes have to be in. So does it impact how you vote? The unknown. If there's a charge, if there's not a charge.
Well, I think if you're a Heisman voter, it's so subjective. Everybody has their different opinions in the way that they vote. As you see that run by Mac Brown, everybody has a different way of voting, and I think it will affect some voters. But if you were to say to a voter, if you just took what happened on the field, I don't think there's anybody in America that can argue that Jameis Winston has had the most outstanding season by a player in college football this year. So based upon that, which we can't deal in innuendo and what may or may not have happened, based on that, I would say he is the overwhelming favorite to win the award.
So even if there's a percentage of voters who decide not to, he may have enough first place votes to win it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
3rd down and 10. Morningweg in trouble. Gets absolutely hammered, but dumps it off on the screen to Mac Brown. And it's a first down to the 37-yard line. Gain of close to 20. One of the biggest offensive plays for Florida since that 50-yard run by Trey Burton in the opening quarter.
And give Skyler Morningweg credit. He's been battered and bruised in this game. You're going to see the pressure come. He knows he's got the middle screen set up. He's got to take a big hit from Brooks. And he gets that ball out. Mac Brown makes a nice play. The 4th quarter of this game, if I am Will Muschamp, I will be evaluating this quarter in the offseason, maybe more so than any other quarter of football in the 2013 season, to see who wants to fight when the chips are down.
Mac Brown gets to the 40-yard line, so about 3 there, brought down by Mario Edwards.
And Coach Muschamp has been quoted as talking about those players that want to give supreme effort and energy are the ones that need to sign up to come back next year. If you don't want to do that, then there's no business being back in the Florida football team. And that's why I believe he'll look at this quarter to start to think about next year. Who can I build the future around? And it's got to start with the effort that you're going to give the remainder of this game.
Showers gets the dump off and has room up the sideline. Into Florida State territory, knocked out at the 46 after a 14-yard pickup.
Fellas, the most important thing about effort is that it's a reflection of pride, and it takes absolutely no talent to exert it. And I think when you talk about evaluating these players, keep in mind this is going to be right now a Florida two-deep team on offense and defense that only loses 8 seniors off of the entire two-deep offensively and defensively. Every facet is being scrutinized, but effort has got to be the signature emblem of this team right now.
Got a first down here, Tom, at the Florida State 46-yard line. As they fumble the exchange, it's covered up by the quarterback, Morningwig. My question is, as there is a penalty flag that flies in, Florida here in 3 years under Will Muschamp, the offenses have been bad. They've had 2 different coordinators. And what do you do to change things up? Do you make a move at the offensive coordinator spot? Do you change the whole offensive staff if you're Will Muschamp? And he did tell us there'd be changes made.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 22 on the defense. That's a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
It's on Telvin Smith. Now, Muschamp didn't tell us what those changes would be or what side of the ball those changes would come from. But obviously, they have to do something offensively to put themselves in a position in the SEC to score enough points. When last year was an anomaly, you're not going to go 7-1 in the SEC, averaging less than 200 yards offense or whatever it was.
Well, I think a couple things need to happen. And first is to find a quarterback, right? I don't care what scheme you have, you've got to have a quarterback that can pull the trigger. Unfortunately for Florida this year, Jeff Driscoll goes down early with a leg injury, and they've been in tumultuous situation ever since. I don't know if it's Jeff Driscoll. I don't know if it's the freshman Will Greer coming in next year, but that's where it has to start.
Brown wrapped up at the point of attack.
And then Will Muschamp, I think, will learn from this year and learn from last year. And I think loosen the grip a little bit on the offense and let it breathe. Let it be aggressive. Let it be, yes, you may have some quick 3-and-outs in situations and put your defense in more difficult situations. But maybe Will Muschamp learns from this season that I have got to find some offense to go with my defense, because that's the only way I can compete in the SEC.
And movement by several Gators. LaTroy Pittman was the first man to jump in the slot.
Before the play, false start on the offense. Number 76, 5-yard penalty, second down.
But ultimately, this is a performance business, and Brent Pease may end up being the scapegoat. In fact, probably the likelihood is that will happen. But it's not all his fault. Right, you can't put all this on Brent Pease. Certainly, they could have been more innovative. They could have done more, but with the injuries that they've had, it would have been very difficult.
The quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, may be better suited for an offense like they ran when Urban Meyer was here, as Brown is stacked up at the 30-yard line, so he gets about 6 yards, and that has to be something that goes into the thinking for Muschamp. Do I want to get an offensive coordinator who's going to play to the strength of our quarterback, if it is indeed Driscoll next year?
Well, Will Muschamp, without question, is smart enough to know that he's got to build the offense around the strengths of his quarterbacks, all the while masking the weaknesses. But I think it's more than that. I think there's some inner turmoil with Will Muschamp because he so badly wants to base this offensive scheme off of a power run game and physicality at the point of attack. That doesn't mean you can't be innovative, and that doesn't mean that you can't create some flashiness. What they've got to do is recruit better skilled players. And I think they're getting there with last year's class and this coming class.
There's 3rd and 9 for Skyler Morningwig. And it's complete, short of the first down. You would imagine that Florida would go for it here in 4th down at about 4 as Fullwood makes the catch.
I think what Tom was saying there is you got to get those recruits like Ahmad Fullwood just made that catch, who's a big 6'5", 196-pound true freshman that they're really excited about. But if I'm a receiver going to Florida and I see Will Muschamp's a coach, I'm going to have a hard time going to an offense like this.
Going forward here on 4th down and 3 with the play clock at 4. Morningwig throws, and it's caught. There's a penalty flag down at the line of scrimmage. LaTroy Pittman, only 1 catch on the season coming into this game. able to secure the ball. Let's see what the penalty flag is for. The Florida State coaches were jumping up and down on the far sideline.
Illegal formation on the offense. More than 4 in the backfield. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, 4th down.
Can't have 5 guys in the backfield. This guy right here, I think it's Dunbar at the top of the screen, has to be on the ball, and they judge that he was off the line of scrimmage there, which allows 5 guys in the backfield, which is a penalty.
So now it's 4th down and 8, but down 27-0. Florida has to go for it. And they're 1 for 9 on 3rd down, and now they got to come up with a conversion on 4th down and 8. Inside 30 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Now we get a timeout called by Florida State. Fourth down and 8 for Florida when we come back.
At WatchESPN.com or download the Watch ESPN app to watch ESPN live anytime, anywhere. Brought to you by Vizio.
Dave Pasch, Brian Gracie, Tom Luganville in Gainesville, Florida, trying to end a 6-game losing streak. Florida State trying to march on towards the BCS National Championship. And the Seminoles will play in the ACC title game next week. And if they win today, win that game, they'll be in the BCS National Championship game in Pasadena. Duke was leading North Carolina. If the Blue Devils win, then they'll be the opponent for the Seminoles next week in the ACC title game. On 4th down and 8, Morningwood throws complete for a first down inside the 20-yard line to LaTroy Pittman.
Looking for people that are going to make plays, continue to compete. And LaTroy Pittman matched up against LaMarcus Joyner, one of the better cover corners in college football. Great route by Pittman, and Skylar Morningwood stands in there under pressure. Mario Edwards coming in and makes the throw for a big 4th down conversion.
And that's the end of 3 quarters. Florida State 1 quarter away from improving to 12-0 for the first time since the 1999 National Championship season. Start of the 4th quarter in Gainesville. Florida State on top of Florida 27-0. The Seminoles are number 2 in the BCS standings. The number 3 team, Ohio State, currently on top of Michigan 28-21. Auburn and Alabama later today. Missouri with 1 loss, playing Texas A&M, and if the Tigers win, they'll play in the SEC championship game against either Auburn or Alabama.
That'll be interesting tonight. Auburn and Alabama. That front 4 for Auburn is legit. D Ford, Carl Lawson, we saw him a couple of weeks ago. Cyrus Kwanjo and that offensive line, they'll have their hands full trying to protect A.J. McCarron.
Look at this formation here for Florida. They flex out Trenton Brown, a tackle, into the slot. And they throw it over the middle, and it gets deflected and broken up. They try a little creativity, probably too late for that. Timmy Jernigan got a hand on the ball.
Well, and everybody's on Brent Pease to have innovation and be, cutting edge. And that was a great formation. It was a great play. They isolated Solomon Patton. He's wide open in the middle of the field, and just they get a tip ball incompletion. It's just been that way all year for the Gators.
Another interesting formation here. And here comes a reverse to Taylor inside the 20. Taylor inside the 10. And they're going to say that he stepped out around the 7.5-yard line. 1st and goal for Florida.
Great misdirection. You snap the ball a little bit high again from Harrison. You get 2 lead blockers with Joyer and Morningweg. If I'm Taylor, I'm going to follow Joyer, not the quarterback.
Yeah. One guy's 240, the other guy's about 204.
But this is a guy in Kelvin Taylor that you can build around, right? You can build around some of these younger wide receivers. Ahmad Fullwood. We just saw LaTroy Pittman make a nice play. They've got to find some players up front on the offensive line, and then that quarterback. And
here's Mac Brown on 1st and goal, east of the 5-yard line. 2nd and goal coming up.
And And I don't know that you're going to go out there and find another offensive coordinator, but you're still going to have the same pieces. And so it's going to be an interesting offseason in what Will Muschamp decides to do, not only from the decision on who to hire, but how much control does he give him.
I think all the talk here, and it's been rough from what we're told in terms of just the fan backlash directed at Will Muschamp for the season. I mean, you think the guy won 11-2, went to the Sugar Bowl last year, 7-1 in the SEC. As Morningwig throws, it's caught, it's a touchdown. Pulled in by Hunter Joyer, and the Gators are on the board. Just going to finish the point that to think a guy goes to a BCS game one year and then he's on the hot seat next year just didn't make a lot of sense. And Jeremy Foley again put that to bed this week. Will Muschamp will be back indeed next year.
No, and that, our conversation with Jeremy Foley was definitely not lip service. It was a feeling in his gut. Again, he's in that foxhole with Will Muschamp, and two of them are going to fight to get this thing fixed. And I know it's little solace for Florida fans, a touchdown at the end of this game, but some positive momentum to build on with young players for next year for Florida.
You're watching the SEC on ESPN from Gainesville. Florida State on top of Florida, 27-7. And coming up tonight on ESPN, more SEC action. Missouri with a win will be in the SEC championship game. Johnny Manziel, A&M in Columbia for that game, and then on ABC at 8, it's UCLA and USC.
I'm taking Missouri. Every week we've been waiting for them, right? Are they going to lose on the road to Ole Miss? They're going to lose to so-and-so. Texas A&M obviously brings in a great challenge. That defense for Missouri, I think, contains Johnny Manziel. And they get a win, James Franklin back, and I couldn't wait to see whether it's Auburn or Alabama in the SEC championship. I think they're going to be given a good game by Missouri.
Kickoff by Florida stays inbounds, and Florida State will have possession around the 20. Let's check in with Reese Davis.
Still unsure who Florida State will play next week in the ACC championship game. Duke up 24-15 late in the third. Marquise Williams to Quinshaw Davis. 2-point game, but guess who leads the nation in fourth quarter scoring margin? The Duke Blue Devils, and they're up 2.
Well, that staff has done such a good job there at Duke to get them relevant. North Carolina's come on, too, of late. Larry Fedora and their staff.
Think of the recruiting now for Duke and David Cutcliffe. Well, such a great school. Could they become trying to use that Stanford model?
James Wilder bouncing off tacklers at 230 pounds. And he's out to the 44 for about 23 yards. Jimbo Fisher's 42-10 coming into this game in his 4 years at Florida State. And of the storied programs, it seems like Florida State above Miami and Notre Dame is back with staying power. Notre Dame, Brian Kelly's done a great job there. They got to the national title game, but clearly not in the class of Alabama. Jimbo Fisher has gotten Florida State to a place where it seems like for years now they're going to be able to compete for national titles as Wilder has stopped at the line of scrimmage. Would you agree with that, Brian?
Absolutely. I think, Jimbo Fisher, going back, he took the best of what he learned from Bobby Bowden and Nick Saban, right? And Bobby Bowden was about relationships with his players and with his administration, the fan base. Nick Saban was about building the infrastructure of the program. And I think that Jimbo Fisher has taken both of those guys and brought that mixture to Florida State. It's unlike any other coach that exists right now in college football, in my opinion, and he's got to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year.
Here's Winston on the rollout, and how about that throw? Now the ball comes out after they roll incomplete as Benjamin just dropped it. That's the third drop by Kelvin Benjamin, but my goodness, what a throw rolling left by Jameis Winston. Look at this thing on a rope.
That's not easy to do over a linebacker there, and Kelvin Benjamin just turns his head and tries to run upfield a little bit. But Kelvin Benjamin, if he can iron out the issues of consistency in catching the football, he could be one of the better wide receivers in all of college football.
3 drops, yet he has 176 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns today. Could have about 300 yards receiving. Winston going to him again, and another perfect throw. Wow.
And Vernon Hargraves, the corner, just puts his hands out, says, I can't be in better position. Look where he is. He's right there. And that ball, again, as you mentioned, perfectly thrown, and it just continues to impress. And I think it's important to make the point, too, about this Florida State team. Offensively, what Jimbo Fisher has done, they came into this year 6 new assistant coaches in the offseason. They lost players on the defensive side. Carradine, Bjorn Warner, Xavier Rose, all kinds of players. And it wasn't like it's Alabama just coming in and we're going to reload. There was question marks about this team and the job that they have done. E.J. Manuel, first-round pick. You have a new quarterback who had to win the job. Right. Jimbo Fisher has done nothing but impress with the way he's handled that whole situation.
Late flags come in here. I think the other thing, too, is it proves that you can call plays and still be the head coach. He's shown, now they haven't had situations where they really had to manage the clock late in games because they've been blowing everybody out, but
getting a little chippy here late, and Cameron Irving got mixed up with one of the Florida Gators.
Now, we obviously already saw one embarrassing moment in a rivalry game at the fight in the Michigan-Ohio State game, and the officials trying to do their part to keep that from happening here.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 75 on the offense. That's a 15-yard penalty. The down counts, second down.
Well, this is a rivalry that has had its moments. This is 1998 here in Tallahassee. This is pregame with actually some of the Florida State walk-ons who weren't even dressed getting into the action.
This is the yeah, look right up here, talking to Ronald Powell. Obviously, Powell did something that Irving didn't like, and so he got up in his face and made contact, pushed him on the face a little bit, and that's all you got to do. This is the best day, in my opinion, the best day in college football. The rivalry Saturday, right? All these great rivalries, and we've seen it time in and time out. You're going to have these kinds of emotional outbursts from players in these kinds of games.
Wilder on 2nd and 17. Oh, gets picked up and body slammed to the 17-yard line. That's hard to do. Wilder's 230 pounds. A third down coming up. Marcus May with the vicious tackle.
And I think you see physical play in matchups in rivalry games like this, and May, yeah, you're right, you got him up. But when you see the outbursts, it's almost like when the games are blowouts, there's more fight because there's not as much on the line, right? If you're in a tie ball game, you're not going to have personal foul penalties.
Well, I don't know. We had it in Michigan-Ohio State in the first half. Hey, we just showed one from the pregame from Florida State from 15 years ago. And Florida State going to have to call another timeout. Jimbo Fisher upset with his quarterback, Jameis. Whoa, look at him grabbing the mask, trying to teach the young man something. Coach not happy with his quarterback. Clock issues. Jameis Winston unhappy here, but Jimbo Fisher wasn't going to have any of it. Grabs the face mask of his quarterback. Randy Sanders, a quarterback coach there in your picture as well.
Jameis was getting a little mouthy with Randy Sanders in the back, and Jimbo is not going to have anything of it. We forget, I think, that Jameis Winston is still a redshirt freshman playing for the first year in college football, and there's some things he still needs to work on, and obviously his coaching staff, Randy Sanders, Jimbo Fisher, think he needs to work better on being aware of the clock. 3 times in this game, it's gone down to a penalty situation, and they're not going to let him skate. The standard is so high for him, and Jimbo Fisher's done a great job of maintaining that.
3rd down and 5. Winston, and it's caught for a first down. Rashad Green on the grab. It'll be 1st and goal from inside the 10.
Look at Jameis Winston talking to his offensive line. It's Trey Jackson there. Trust the pocket. That's what we talked about. He's always had good protection the majority of the year. And you see the maturity to deal with your head coach coming, grabbing your face mask, yelling at you, to come back and throw a dart on 3rd down there to get a first down, and then to tell your right guard to quit fighting and quit being chippy. That's what quarterbacks need to do. That's leadership.
Wilder bounces off of one man and finally goes down at the 5-yard line. Marcus May got him to the ground. Well, Jameis Winston will have one more year that he has to play college football, and you would think with this talent it's probably just one more year. And with this ability, and there's a penalty flag down, late flag again.
First down.
Didn't see the flag was on the near side, and Florida State didn't even see it either.
Well,
illegal shift is the call.
I thought when I was reading some of the clips this week in preparation for this game, the one that stuck out to me came from Kenny Shaw, his wide receiver, who said as the year has gone on and there's been more attention placed in the direction of Jameis Winston, he's become more and more humble with each week that's gone on. And that's just amazing to me. He's tried to deflect to his teammates. The more attention he gets, it's not about the Heisman for him, it's about winning. That's very impressive for a redshirt freshman to be able to do.
Wilder down to the 11. And Florida still fighting on defense. And again, a little pushing and shoving afterwards. Bobby Hart near on ball getting into it, but this time no penalty flag. You think about it, you went all this time without a freshman winning the Heisman. Johnny Manziel wins it last year, and Jameis Winston, the leading candidate, I think 2 straight years with a freshman winning the award.
And it's not by accident, right? With the way that high school coaches are coaching the game in high school, with all of the resources that are available, quarterbacks are coming into the college level more prepared to play.
Play action. Winston. Going to tuck it. And bounces off a tackle. Brian, I know you don't have a Heisman vote. If you did, would Jameis Winston be your guy? Would you make a decision not knowing whether there will be a charge against him?
Well, obviously, I have to see what happens next week in the ACC championship game. And if anything comes, obviously, from the district attorney in the next couple of weeks. But if there is not a charge brought against Jameis Winston, I would vote based on what he's done on the field. And based on that, there's no question in my mind that he's been the most outstanding player in college football this season.
Dante Fowler, meanwhile, shaken up.
Oh, and they're looking at that knee.
They've lost so many key players to season-ending injuries, and I know that this is the last game of the year, but have guys that have significant injuries that might take you into the spring too. You don't want to have that obviously at the end of the year. You don't get those bowl practices. This will be the first time in 23 years that Florida is not in a bowl game. It looks like Fowler at least is okay, well enough to walk under his own power. He jaws at Bobby Hart on his way out. They were going at it on that drive. I don't have a Heisman vote either, but I'm with you. I think because as long as there is no announcement between now and December 9th, I don't know how you can vote when there hasn't been any new information. I don't know how you can not vote him to win the Heisman Trophy based on the numbers. As Will Muschamp is going to call a timeout. Now the other thing too with Florida State, winning this game obviously next week against Duke or Virginia Tech, whoever it is in the ACC title game, they win that game. And you're a voter trying to pick the top 2 teams for the BCS championship. If you don't know the status of Jameis Winston, it's the same thing, right? You got to vote them in the top 2.
No, there's no question that the 2 best teams on the field in college football so far have been Florida State and Alabama. And based on what Alabama does this week today against Auburn, we're going to see, in the SEC championship. Don't rule out Missouri either. Once they get to the SEC championship, we could be talking about Auburn against Missouri, Alabama against Missouri, and the winner of that game really could play the Florida State Seminoles if they get past the ACC championship.
Ohio State playing Michigan today. The Buckeyes still have Michigan State. Obviously, they're still alive if Florida State should lose next week or if Alabama loses to Auburn. Winston on 3rd down and goal, and Benjamin makes the catch, his 3rd touchdown.
I know that won't look like a SportsCenter top 10 play, but what Kelvin Benjamin just did right there, he looked over one shoulder. Take a look. He'll look over his right shoulder first, and then he'll flip all the way around to his left shoulder. That's an unbelievable adjustment. And Kelvin Benjamin has dropped 3 passes in this game, but he's made a couple of spectacular plays for Jameis Winston.
He has 212 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. One of his drops definitely would have been a touchdown. Another one might have been, and then there was one that he laid out for that would have been a 50-yard gain had he pulled it in. Jameis Winston with 327 yards on 19 completions and 3 touchdowns, all to sophomore Kelvin Benjamin.
ESPN College Football is presented by Cars.com. Get the right car without all the drama. Cars.com. All drive, no drama. And in part by GoPro, the world's most versatile camera. GoPro. Be a hero.
More unique views off of our GoPro camera. I think we need to strap one of those to Loogie down on the sideline.
You get some great looks, boys.
Hey, you're in there in the...
I'm a little disappointed that Luganville hasn't been a part of any, been hit by any players down there. He's just not close enough to the field, I guess, or not on top of the play.
It's the first game he hasn't either sweat or frozen to death this season. Hargraves takes a knee. It'll come out to the 25. Here's Reese in the studio.
Updating the game, Ohio State and Michigan. Buckeyes have pulled out to a 28-21 lead, and Braxton Miller still under 50% passing rate. It's Jeff Hireman for the touchdown, and the third-ranked team in the nation. They've stretched it out to a 14-point edge on ABC. North Carolina scored 10 straight points. They lead by 1 against Duke. Blue Devils need a win to go to the ACC title game.
Where they would play Florida State?
I'm really disappointed that we didn't have any cut-ins when Michigan was actually winning that game. The only cut-in from Reese and the crew back there was when Ohio State was winning the game. That's poor.
You're seeing bias on the part of...
Poor producing back there in the studio.
Yeah. First down on the Florida 25. Morningwood backing up, and it's incomplete. Let's take a look at this week's BCS standings, brought to you by Tostitos. Let's look at the top 5. You've got the 2 one-loss teams, Auburn at 4, Missouri at 5, and then the 3 remaining undefeateds, Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State. Northern Illinois is the only other undefeated team. And who has the best chance to beat this Florida State team?
Yeah, I think it's obvious. It's Alabama, and I think it would be a great game. The thing that I would be really interested in seeing is that Alabama offense, right, with Amari Cooper and Christian Jones, and their passing game with A.J. McCarron going up against this secondary and this defense for Florida State. I think it would be. It would be the colossal matchup that a lot of people really want to see. And then Florida State's offense against the Alabama defense. Jameis Winston proved to me today that against one of the better defenses in the SEC, against immense pressure in the pocket and tight man-to-man coverage on the back end, that they can still move the ball and score points. So it would be a fantastic matchup.
3rd down and 8 after the catch by Pat. Morningwood steps up and tackled short of the first down by about 3 yards. Tom?
Well, I think you got to look at how Florida State and Alabama have been built. What are the value positions? Quarterback, offensive line, defensive line, and secondary. Those 4 positions are where Florida State and Alabama have supreme difference makers across the board, and that's why they match up well. The concern with me for an Auburn or a Missouri, even an Ohio State, they have some glaring weaknesses in some areas that Florida State and Alabama could exploit significantly.
Morningwood tackled short of the first down. On 4th down, the ball came out and was recovered by Florida State. Nate Andrews with the recovery, so the Seminoles take over. They would have taken over on downs anyway, as he was going to be short. 6:52 left, and it's Florida State ball. Well, I'm not sure that anybody can stop this Florida State offense, even Alabama's defense, which has been terrific the last 2 months. Just Jameis Winston been so impressive. They had that stretch in the first quarter where they were struggling, and then they convert a 3rd down and 26, and it totally changes momentum. ESPN College Football presented by Cars.com. 34-7 Florida State as we watch a 6'4", 230-pound quarterback here. On Monday night, we'll watch 2 guys who aren't 6'4", 230, but are 2 in the best in the biz. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Saints, Seahawks. Monday night countdown at 6:30. 8:25 kickoff on ESPN, and what should be a fantastic game on Monday Night Football.
That might be the game of the year in the NFL. And how many doors have those 2 guys opened up for those sub-6-foot quarterbacks throughout college football? They're paving the way.
All of our ESPN employees that are from Boston just got upset with you if you didn't pay attention to the Patriots-Broncos game on Sunday, saying that this coming Monday's game could be the best in the NFL as Wilder is inside the 30-yard line.
That was the biggest collapse. I'm from Denver and everybody from Boston.
Florida State in command, leading 34-7 with 6.5 remaining. Jameis Winston adding 3 more touchdown passes. He's got 35 in the season. We saw a moment during the commercial where in the huddle he started grabbing teammates. Don't know what he was saying, but just showed a great amount of leadership, even with this 27-point lead, just trying to close out the opponent here. First down run by Wilder to the 17-yard line.
I think what that shows you, both from the way that Jimbo Fisher handles his team in the fourth quarter, grabbing Jameis Winston, making sure that he's focused on every single snap, it trickles down to the quarterback. And the quarterback can police and manage on the field just like Jimbo Fisher does from the sideline. And they're not worried about the result of this game, but they're thinking constantly about the level of expectation, the standard, and where they want to go, and the precipice of where they are and potentially playing for a national championship, and want to get better on every opportunity.
Wilder on first down. Gets to the 15, a gain of a couple. Marcus May on the tackle. As we mentioned, we got Alabama, Auburn today. You got Missouri, Texas A&M. Ohio State, its lead down to 7 in the big game with Michigan. Still about 10 minutes left in that ball game. UCLA, USC tonight on ABC. What was your record against Ohio State when you were in Michigan?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Well, what was it? You know, so just say it.
Well, it was 3-0.
What's it like to play in the biggest game of the year when it's against your chief rival as Florida State runs and Wilder falls down?
You know, it's rivalry games in college football is as good as it gets on any level. And you know, I played in some rivalry games in the National Football League, Denver and Oakland and Chicago and Green Bay. And you know, I always look back at the Michigan-Ohio State game that I played in, that my rivalry game, with the fondest memories. And maybe it was because we won, but and it's not just what the game means, it's the memories and the people that you play with, the people that you play against. And I have so much respect for Ohio State and their program and what Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler kind of were responsible for building. And so I will always look back on that game and that rivalry, as will all these other players. Florida State rivalry, the Auburn-Alabama, they all have that fond memory, and that's what makes college football so special.
Carlos Williams with a collision with Marcus May. Carlos Williams, a converted safety in season, and this guy ends up averaging 8.5 yards a carry. We didn't see him a lot today. Florida State on fourth down going to bring on the field goal team, but it's a guy to keep an eye on next year. He'll be a senior. They get all their running backs returning. Most of their receivers are back. Their entire offensive line, except their center Brian Stork, is back.
Yeah, and that's what Jimbo Fisher said to us last night. He said Carlos Williams will be special. With an offseason to learn the offense a little bit better, he's the one that Jimbo Fisher really has his eye on.
Florida State had a call timeout because they were late getting an 11th man on the field for a field goal try.
That's Giorgio Newberry, who was late to get on.
So while we have a moment, let's check in with Reese Davis in the studio. Maybe we'll get a positive Michigan update for you here, Reese.
I like it.
Greasy, I tell you, this is all for you. 35-21. Devin Gardner's thrown for more than 300 yards today. He'll find Drew Dillio for the touchdown. But Brian, wait, there's more. Carlos Hyde fumbled. Michigan has it in Ohio State territory, trying to drive for the tie.
You see, when we get a cut in, it's good luck. Good job, Reese.
Obviously, Ohio State is in the Big Ten championship game, but still shot of playing for a BCS national championship. But if they lose at Michigan, that's done. Remember, Urban Meyer's not lost yet as the head coach at Ohio State. The field goal is good from Aguayo and then makes it 37-7. We've been fortunate all year to have our sideline analyst with us, the national recruiting director for ESPN.com.
Wow.
Especially over the last 6 weeks with these blowout games, we can get Lugie in here to
very official national director.
Yep, and tell us about recruiting. So, Tom, take it away.
I think from Florida, guys, obviously it's been a tumultuous year. But from a recruiting standpoint, this is a 10th ranked class right now. They don't have a lot of numbers because, as we've referenced early, the bulk of this roster is coming back. But where they have made some inroads is continuing to address the needs that they have for offensive skilled position players. And I think the two things that are important to note here is, despite the down year, you haven't seen guys jumping out of the third floor of a burning building. They haven't just been scattering to separate themselves from this program. That's number one, and it's important because it shows what Will Muschamp in this program is and how they're perceived. Secondly, though, with the new NCAA recruiting rules, where the extended dead period goes another 2 weeks into January after the last 2 weeks of December, that really limits Florida's ability to close, because essentially they're going to have the first 2 weeks in December and the last 2 weeks of January leading to signing day to close out on this class. So it doesn't give you a lot of time to get the kids in on official visits. So I think things are still positive, but how they close will be a reflection of just how big of a mark this season is.
That's part of the reason Jeremy Foley told us this week that he believes in Will Muschamp, because of the recruiting that he and his staff have done. Touchback. It'll come out to the 25. Get close to all the action wherever you are with the new SportsCenter app. Blazing fast scores, the hottest news and highlights, analysis, and access to your favorite SportsCenter talent 24/7 via Twitter. You can download the new SportsCenter app by calling *SC from your phone.
I think Will Muschamp is an outstanding football coach, defensive coordinator. He's one of the best in the business, and I think that's what Jeremy Foley really sees in him. Now, this is his first opportunity as a head coach, which brings so much more to the table that you have to be on top of, and Will Muschamp is learning, and I think he's able to check his ego enough to know where he needs to learn and grow as a head coach, and a big part of that is the relationships that he's building with these young players. And, you know, before the game, we saw a part of that. This is him saying this is the last chance for these seniors to go out, and you can see his love for these guys. He's telling them before the game, just go out and have fun. And it's been a tough year, but go have fun. And I think they respond to him.
What Jeremy Foley said when he's had these conversations with Will Muschamp during the season, during this losing streak, as a pass is caught short of a first down by Solomon Patton. He said he doesn't see that deer in the headlights look at all. He sees a coach who's in command. Despite the losing, has been able to deflect the criticism. And he and his staff have continued to work hard, even though they have not had the personnel because of injuries. Here's 3rd down and 2. Morningwig throws complete. Patton, though, stumbles, and so brings up a 4th down.
And when we talked with Jeremy Foley, asked him how much input or influence will he have if there are coaching changes on the staff in the offseason. And Jeremy Foley said, listen, this is Will Muschamp's show, and it's his responsibility at the end of the day to go find some offense, whether that's a new coordinator or not. It's his job, and Jeremy Foley doesn't want to be a part of that decision, because ultimately he needs to hold Will Muschamp accountable to that. And that's, as a fan of Florida, that's what I would want.
Well, in major college football, somebody's going to pay when you lose your last 7 games in Florida and you don't go to a bowl game. So there will be changes after a 4-8 season, but it will not be involving the head coach. Fair caught at the 24-yard line. Let's get Tom back in here.
You know, as forthcoming as Jeremy Foley was, the thing that struck a chord with me was, with all of the clutter and everybody having an opinion and telling him what they think should be done, I loved his quote in the sense that you don't make short impulse decisions that could have long-term ramifications. And keeping that type of broad spectrum vision on this program and the belief in Will Muschamp, it's all about not making knee-jerk decisions. And I think that's very important from a position of leadership in Jeremy Foley.
Sean McGuire is in the game at quarterback as Carlos Williams runs here on 1st down. And pushed out a play near the 28-yard line. Now, the normal backup is Jacob Coker for Florida State, but he is out for the season with a knee injury. So Sean McGuire, whose only scholarship offer other than Florida State was Buffalo. He
Say that
played
again?
the second half against Syracuse and Idaho in blowout wins.
Yeah, and he's obviously been in the spotlight a little bit in the last couple of weeks with what Jameis Winston's been going through. He would be the next in line. Jimbo Fisher told us last night that he's got confidence in Sean McGuire, and he's got a skill set that really Fisher likes.
And given the uncertainty, as you mentioned, with Winston, who knows, we might see Sean McGuire at some point in the future. So, Tom, tell us about him.
Well, Sean McGuire, we referenced earlier not knowing all the intangible factors that you may need to know when a guy comes out. Sean McGuire was a player that played in the Delaware wing T, which means he threw the ball 7 to 9 times coming out of high school. So there wasn't a lot of experience, but there was a lot of a physical upside in terms of skill set and arm talent. And that's what Jimbo Fisher likes, to develop a guy and bring him along. He was our 13th ranked quarterback in the 2012 class, 4-star prospect. He's got a bright future, needs to take care of an opportunity if one presents himself. And you know what, Dave, as you mentioned, next year could be Jameis's last year.
Carlos Williams on the carry, and that'll be the final play as Florida State led 3-0 for about a quarter and a half, but then Jameis Winston got hot. Finishes with 327 yards and 3 touchdown passes, all to Kelvin Benjamin, and the Seminoles have won 13 straight. They're 12-0 this year, first 12-0 record for the Seminoles since they last won the national championship. Will it happen again? They're one victory away from playing for the BCS national championship. They'll face Duke if the Blue Devils hang on to beat North Carolina in the ACC title game next week. Jimbo Fisher standing by with Tom Luganville.
Coach is getting some love here from the family. Much deserved, right, Coach?
It definitely is. I mean, you come down here to Gainesville, it's such a tough place to play, and to finish the season off undefeated, what a credit accomplishment by this football team.
Coach, everybody knows that you're a talented football team. They know Jameis Winston's a difference maker. Take the talent out of it. What is the defining trait of this football team right now?
They care for each other. They play for each other, and no matter what the adversity is, they put their head down, they go to work, and they do exactly what you ask them to do, and they got tremendous toughness and tremendous mental capacity to understand what moment they're in.
When it comes to competing and making an improvement, your quarterback, Jameis Winston, rattled a little bit early, regained his focus, and he seems to thrive on when you jump his tail a little bit.
He does now. He's a competitor. When you get on him and you mount him, and that's what he thrives. That's why we get along so well. We think alike, play alike. We're maybe too much alike.
Hey, have a good one. Good luck.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, Tom, next up for Florida State, the ACC championship game. If the Seminoles win that, the BCS national championship game, more than likely. Florida State rolls today 37-7, beating Florida. The Gators finish 4-8 on the season. Coming up next is college football scoreboard. So long from Gainesville. Florida State beats Florida 37-7.